People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions?
Yeah.
Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist.
Sunny Hostin, one of the most outspoken and polarizing figures on The View, recently found herself embroiled in a scandal so dripping with irony it felt like it came straight out of a satire. Known for her bold takes on race, reparations, and identity politics, Sunny has built her career on calling out racial injustice. With her loud, confident, and often morally self-assured demeanor, she's crafted a public persona rooted in a strong sense of moral superiority. When she appeared on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show where celebrities dive deep into their family histories, viewers anticipated a moment where her personal narrative would perfectly align with her passionate public stance. After all, for someone so vocal about racial justice, it seems safe to assume she had her own family history well understood. But what she discovered was nothing short of jaw-dropping. The revelations left both Sunny and the internet in complete disbelief, turning the moment into an unexpected twist that no one saw coming.
She's actually the descendant of slave owners from...
Before we dive into the drama, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated on all the latest Hollywood buzz. Now, let's get to it. When Sunny Hostin sat across from renowned genealogist Henry Louis Gates Jr. on PBS's Finding Your Roots, she was ready to uncover the hidden stories of her ancestry. What she didn't expect was a revelation so explosive it would leave her world completely shaken. Instead of uncovering a history of struggling immigrants or oppressed minorities, Sunny learned that her ancestors were in fact slave owners. That's right, Sunny Hostin, the outspoken advocate for reparations and vocal critic of slavery's enduring legacy, discovered that her own family directly profited from the very institution she spent years condemning. Her reaction, shock, discomfort, and an undeniable moment of awkward silence. It was a revelation that no one, least of all Sunny herself, saw coming.
Wow.
Clearly struggling to process the revelation. I didn't think my family was originally from Spain or slaveholders, she stammered, as if the words themselves were unfamiliar. For a brief moment, the room fell into an awkward, palpable silence, so heavy it felt like time itself had paused. Ever the professional, Sunny attempted to salvage the moment, muttering something about how it would be an interesting tidbit for her kids to learn. But let's face it, the damage was already done. Naturally, it didn't take long for Fox News' Greg Gutfeld to jump on the opportunity. If irony had a championship trophy, Greg would have claimed it with ease. Opening his segment with a punchline that landed perfectly, he quipped, "Sunny Hostin's ancestors were slave owners. That's like finding out a vegan secretly owns a barbecue joint." The audience erupted in laughter as Greg doubled down, peeling back the layers of what he called peak hypocrisy.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions?
Yeah.
Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses, regardless of skin color. People marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist.
Sunny has always been quick to call out others for their past mistakes, but when it came to her own family history, Greg Gutfeld didn't hesitate to highlight what he saw as a glaring double standard. Next time Sunny pulls the race card on The View, someone's going to remind her, "At least we're not slave owner racists," he joked, drawing laughter from his audience. But Greg's criticism wasn't all for laughs. He also zeroed in on what many found troubling: Sunny's apparent lack of accountability. Rather than offering an apology or reflecting on the gravity of her family's past, she brushed it off as just a fact of life. As soon as the revelation aired, social media went into a frenzy. Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok exploded with reactions, many of them dripping with humor. One tweet read, "Sunny Hostin finding out her family were slave owners is the plot twist of the year." Memes followed in rapid succession, with one of the most viral featuring a mock-up of Sunny alongside the caption, reparations. Let me write that check to myself real quick. Some of her fans rushed to her defense, arguing that she shouldn't be held responsible for the actions of her ancestors, but others were far less forgiving. It's not about blaming her for what her ancestors did, one commenter wrote. It's about the hypocrisy of shaming others while ignoring the skeletons in your own closet. Greg took it a step further, using the moment to critique the broader issue of identity politics. He argued that it often oversimplifies complex issues, reducing individuals to categories while ignoring the contradictions and nuances within their personal histories. For Greg, Sunny's revelation was more than just a personal embarrassment. It was a prime example of the flaws in the very ideology she champions.
Quote, a lens of empathy. Debate highlights ableism in politics. Pat Fetterman could do for disability what Obama did for race.
Say what?
See, because when all else fails, use identity politics. But MSNBC's Lawrence O'Donnell went a step further.
This is what happens when you focus too much on race, Greg Gutfeld remarked. You lose sight of the individual, the context, and the nuance, and eventually it backfires, just like it did for Sunny. He went on to stress the importance of personal responsibility, adding, "It's not about who your ancestors were, it's about what you do today." For years, Sunny has been lecturing others on issues of race and historical injustices, but Greg suggested it might be time for her to take a hard look in the mirror. This entire situation raises important questions about how we approach historical accountability. Should someone like Sunny, who has consistently condemned others for the actions of their ancestors, be held to the same standard? Or is it enough to simply acknowledge the past without letting it define who you are today?
These elites are so isolated, they've forgotten that most Americans don't get paid to sit in a comfy chair pontificating about everything all day. Nope, some of us are cameramen whose names I don't know. But maybe one day when we finally strip away this phony race war, it will finally expose this elite mentality. And we'll find out Sunny is just like Marie Antoinette, except she says, let me eat cake.
Greg Gutfeld's panel had a field day with the revelation. One co-host joked, if Sunny's been shaming descendants of slave owners, does she now have to shame herself? Another added, it's funny how wrapped up she is in identity politics. Turns out she didn't even know who she was. While the internet had a blast at Sunny's expense, some pointed out that this could have been a turning point for her. Instead of brushing it off as just a fact of life, she could have used the moment to spark a deeper, more nuanced conversation about history, identity, and the complexities of her own family's past. Imagine if she had said, I've learned something surprising about my family, and it's making me rethink how I approach these conversations. But instead, it was a mere shrug and a quick pivot. Even Sunny's co-hosts on The View seemed unsure how to react. Whoopi Goldberg, known for her sharp humor, may have been holding back a quip. Perhaps something like, Sunny, do you want me to get you coffee? Or should we ask your slaveholding ancestors for a refill?
I make fun of The View a lot, but that's only because they keep talking. Those hens are always clucking. They get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, and then I get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, except on purpose. But every now and then, one of those dingbats inadvertently says something that reveals modern liberal thought so perfectly, it deserves further study. You know, like a weird serpent that washed up on the beach and you want to poke it with a stick.
At the end of the day, this isn't just about Sunny Hostin. It's a cautionary tale about the dangers of self-righteousness and the need for humility. History is complex, messy, and often uncomfortable, and none of us are free from its shadow. That's why it's so crucial to approach sensitive topics with grace, self-awareness, and a willingness to learn. As Greg Gutfeld put it perfectly, when you spend your life looking for racism everywhere, eventually it finds you. And for Sunny, it was hiding right there in her family tree. So what's next for Sunny Hostin? Will she face this irony head on or pretend nothing happened? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, this story will be discussed for a long time. And who knows, maybe the next time she lectures America on history, she'll pause before throwing stones from her glass ancestral house. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.